Hi everyone, back for Brawler's Bash Game 3. After 2 games at table 15, I moved over one slot to table 14 for my Dwarven holds to face the Warriors of the Dark Gods. This one I decided to try something a little different and switch up, so I'm not putting all of my characters in the one uh, Deep Watch unit this time, so we'll see how that does any better for me. This was the counter. Like it's a different deployment where you have to go one by one and you can't get within 18 inches of each other or something like that of each model unit. All it really accomplished is that because he got to place first, I was a little further back. So no big whoop there. Um, so he's got a unit of the fast cav horsemen, a big unit of dogs, a BSB character on a demon mount. And then I was kind of confused with this. I think the first three of these 10-man units here are Chosen of Wrath, and the one with the flag are Warriors of Wrath. Um, Again, other than the one flag, there wasn't really anything to keep them separate, so I got a little confused. Behind the second unit of Chosen is his Wizard on a demonic mount. Behind the third unit of Chosen is the War Altar. Then he's got another unit of dogs, a big old unit of Crushers behind that. His General on a disc up front, and another unit of the fast cav, and then way over facing the other side is a Chosen unit of Lust, who apparently can like move around swift stride or like fast cav, so he's just kind of facing them off there because he didn't want to sit him in that water. So my army is obviously the same. The big difference here is I decided, since I figured he would be moving so quickly towards me, there wasn't much of a point to actually ambush my miners, so they're here in the front line. I also split up my characters, so you see I've got one of them in this first unit of Greybeards. I've got 3 of them in with the Deep Watch. I've got another 2 in with the other Greybeards, and that's it. And then, of course, my Slayer character in with the Slayers. So, again, the Slayers, other than his characters, the only thing the Slayer character can really do a lot to are those Crushers, which I have to because I am playing the situation card where I have to get his most expensive unit, which is the Crushers, down to half wounds to earn an extra 1,000 points. So I definitely think I'm going to try and get my Slayers in there to do that job. So then we started trading off Vanguards. He Vanguarded to the side and forward here to kind of open the door for his Crushers. My Slayers Vanguarded up a little bit. Over here, my other 2 units Vanguarded up. I just didn't want to give him too many easy charges on turn 1, so I didn't want to squeeze in too close. And I don't think he Vanguarded at all with the other dogs on the other side. But my effort was pretty much to naught. He ended up getting the first turn, and he charges me. So he hits his character, the general, and his big unit of Crushers right into my Slayer's top of 1. And then he starts using all the other units to encircle me. Over here, he decides just to hug the wall with the Chosen and the Warriors. I'm thinking that's cool. I don't think he's paying attention to the fact that I have breath weapons. So my plan actually here is to move up and hit him with the breath weapons before I go in, thinking that I can do some pain to him without having to deal with the fact of the wall there preventing or making it less likely for me to hit. And then his fast cav runs way around the building here and is already in my flank, which is just fantastic. And then, to make matters worse, he hurls Break the Spirit in his magic phase on my Deep Watch. And again, the story of this whole tournament so far has been anybody with even a little bit of magic is just able to do whatever they want, because I made a huge mistake in not bringing any more magic defense. And then he pops a Totemic Summons, and there's a bear in my backfield. Fantastic! And the bear breathes on my Bolt Thrower and does 2 damage. And then, holy hell, yeah, things go bad. My Slayer Lord gets caught in a challenge with his champion of the Crushers, and I flub and only do 2 wounds to him. Because apparently the Crushers are strength 4, or toughness 4, and so I'm not doubling my strength. So I'm having trouble punching through the armor. And then between his general and the rest of the Crushers that can attack, they decimate that unit. Only reason I'm staying around is I'm unbreakable. So I go to my turn 1, and I figure I need some extra power in here, so I go ahead and send the Vengeance Seeker forward. Maybe he can throw a few more wounds on there and get me down to the earning the 1,000 points. I also tried to charge the Grudge Buster, the Pain Train, into... I don't remember if I was trying to charge into his wizard. I think I was, or the chosen next to him, but I failed bad. I rolled like double ones and go nowhere. And then, unfortunately, I didn't take a picture of the actual fire breathing that I was talking about last turn, but I ended up walking up with the units that I could and fire breathing, and ended up taking out a grand total of 16 models between chosen and warriors with the fire breath. Wasn't great. I really was kind of hoping for more, and it didn't break anybody because they're all frenzied, and I cut a couple of the units down to half, so that was pretty good. And then in my shooting, I turned around here and wasted the bear because I didn't want it to do too much more damage. And then over here, I do finally kill his champion in the challenge. The Vengeance Seeker does 1 wound to the Crushers and takes 1 in return. Again, we're unbreakable and not going anywhere. And then, holy crap, bad things happen here. This is actually the next turn for the Warriors. He charges my crossbowman with his unit of chosen of lust way over there on the hill. I choose to flee because I'm not done shooting stuff with them yet. But I roll terribly on my flee check and end up right in front of the copter, which he then chooses to charge the crossbowman with his dogs that you can see at the top of the screen and runs them off the board, which runs them through the copter, who fails his leadership check and panics and runs off the board. So now the 2 things I had there defending my Bolt Thrower are gone, and the Bolt Thrower is all by its lonesome in my backfield. And then he charges with everything. You can see how many I peeled off of each unit at this point. The chosen on the left here lost, looks like 4. I only lost 3 in the other chosen unit. He also slams his character into the flank of the miners and the wizard in the front of the Greybeards as well. So he's bringing a lot of overkill here. He does not choose to charge either of the other units holding the wall out, which is probably smart because I did succeed in cutting both of those units in half. And receiving the charge, I was pretty sure I could win with both of these cases, and so he was pretty smart in holding that back. I don't think I mentioned my opponent's name at this point up to this point, but this is Darren Allen. He did a great job at this tournament. He actually told me that this was his 9th game of 9th Age ever. So it was awesome to get to play somebody so new to the hobby, and it was a lot of fun. But I'm okay with him not charging here. I only want half of my army to meet disaster at one time. That would be great. And he couldn't redirect with the dogs, so he failed the charge, and they kind of just are hanging out there now. And this is where he ended up with his chosen. Because of their crazy movement buff, he is well within a decent charge range of hitting my bolt thrower next turn, and there's really nothing I can do to stop it. And over here, he brings up the fast cav to follow in behind the chosen there. And I think he might have moved. Yeah, I think he might have moved his chair, the war shrine just a little bit, but that's about it over here. And then he brings the fast cab up behind the pain train to try and shoot it. And his other unit of dogs is not gone. They're just cowering behind the building, and I think they stay there the whole game because he doesn't really need the help at this point. So we go into combat, and he ends up... we end up trading models. He takes down the Vengeance Seeker. I take down another Crusher, which succeeds in getting me the 1,000 points I need. And then I'm stuck with my Seeker character in a challenge with his general. He hits me twice, does 2 wounds, and I'm like, all right, I'm strength 10. He's good to go. Actually, I may not be strength 10 on this guy because he's just in a disc. So yeah, so I'm not strength 10. I ended up hitting him 4 or 5 times, and he armor saved every one of them, so I haven't scratched his general yet, which was super bad. But again, I'm holding because I'm unbreakable, and I guess the longer I hold the general and this unit, the better off I'll be. So over here, we had a fight. I killed 2 of the chosen. He kills a whole rank plus of the miners, and my character is in a challenge with his champion. His champion declared the challenge, and I accepted. And we actually got to this point, and it kind of upset my opponent because he didn't realize that in doing so, he was cutting his character entirely out of the combat. And so he had to call, like, he didn't believe me when I told him that was the case, and we called the TO over, and that is in fact the case, but it was, unfortunately, this was kind of where the attitude of my opponent changed the game. I was still having fun, even though I was getting my teeth kicked in, but he didn't react well to that TO call, and it kind of changed the whole tenor of the rest of the game for me personally. Just with the change, it seemed at this point my opponent was not quite so not quite enjoying it so much, but it is what it is. But yeah, I end up doing enough to be steadfast here, and I stick even though it's pretty much almost impossible for me not to die next turn. The other thing that's kind of annoying about this is I moved up my Vengeance Seeker too far. So you can see him, he's staring at a whole hell of a lot of nothing right now. And he's not really going to do much at the moment. I'm going to have to take some time to turn him around. I kind of wish those guys had random movement. I don't know if that would make them better or worse in this case. Or in general, I guess. It would make them better in this case. But it would be kind of an interesting rule to give them. So here in the middle, I kick butt. He kills a lot of me, but I stay. And unfortunately, I try and throw attacks at his character, and it's just not going well. He's succeeding armor saves and ward saves, and I just can't touch him. So we go to Dwarven Hold's turn 2, and I decide I need some points, because this is going badly. So I go ahead and rush straight forward. I figure what I've got here can handle each of these little 5-man units, and if I'm lucky, the Deep Watch will hit this middle unit and overrun and catch his war shrine, which would be awesome because I don't want to suffer the impact hits of the damn thing hitting me. I also decide that the pain train is going to go into the side of this character, and hopefully with some impact hits, I'll be able to kill him. I'm kind of taking a gamble here, but I figure that minor unit is dead anyway. So if I do accomplish nothing but add on to combat res, it doesn't really matter, provided I can do some wounds with the impact hits. So, this kind of shows how that went. Yeah, I did nothing. His character turns around and brutalizes the pain train. His 4 remaining chosen kill all of the miners, but can't touch my character, but it doesn't matter. I gave him a boatload of combat res, and I break, but he chooses not to overrun or not to pursue with either character. Or no, he did have to pursue with the chosen, but I think he bounced off his BSB right there. But I escaped for the moment. Over here, he does some good damage, but I end up beating him down and overrunning to actually get a hold of the War Shrine. And over here, I clean off the warriors with only the loss of 2 dwarves, which is super good. Then we go to this fight over here. I do finish the Chosen, and in fact even inflict a wound on his character, but he's tough and isn't going anywhere. I don't even know. I think I lost this battle too, because I think he killed a bunch of the remaining dwarves. So all I've got left is, because he's already killed the champion, yeah, all I've got left is the standard bearer and the musician here, plus my great weapon wielding character. And they're probably going to die very shortly. And over here it finally happens. He kills off my Slayer Lord, and now the right flank of the table belongs entirely to him. And he reforms to come get some. Warriors of the Dark Gods turn 3. As you can see, he charges his BSB into the flank of the unit with my character in it that's there. He charges the Chosen at my female Thane, who runs a little further. She's almost off the board. He slams the Crushers into the flank of my Greybeards and slams the dog into the Ballista. He then brings up his fast cav to start shooting at the dwarf, who's all by himself and can't see anything because I play this game badly. And then he starts throwing spells around and gets Break the Spirit off on the Iron, or the Deep Watch again, which is bad, but I do not have the magic defense to stop him, so he's getting at least 1 spell a turn that he wants through. And over here, amusingly enough, I win this combat. He throws the dogs at the Ballista, does 1 wound, I do 2 to him. So I guess actually we bounced, because I did 2 versus a charge and a wound. So we bounced, but I consider it a moral victory because I killed more dogs than I took wounds. And then he reforms to go 1 rank wide so he can get the combat res. You can also see he's pushing real hard up on this stuff. He's brought his general up, who looks like I did do 2 wounds to him, so that's pretty good. With the Slayer before he died, and then everybody else is just sweeping in. We do some fighting over here. I don't think I even get any wounds through. He kills several dwarves. I lose, but I'm stubborn. I stick and pull off the reform. And then over here, I take a beating, but I do some wounds to him. I end up winning through through static res, and he breaks. And again, as is the story of my life in this tournament, I can't catch him. So I run forward and take some dangerous terrain from Break the Spirit, but not nearly as much as I thought I would. The unit still holds together pretty good, though my general did take a wound from dangerous terrain, which was stupid. And over here, these characters sweep up. I did end up squeezing off a wound on his BSB, as you can see, and the wizard. So the wizard's got a wound, the BSB's got a wound, and his general's got 2 wounds. So for as defended as these characters are, I'm still thinking that's pretty good, although I'm rapidly running out of other things to be able to do to them to stop them. So we go to Dwarf holds turn 3. I run my general out of the unit and catch his shrine, so I get those points. My female Thane rallies, and I don't even know if this is legal now that I'm looking at it, but I reformed after that. Probably not legal, but I don't think this game is in danger of me winning it, even if something happened there. And my slow on the uptake Dwarf Vengeance Seeker here turns around and looks at these other 2 units. And we keep fighting. I kill another dog. He does another wound to me. I lose this one by 1, but I'm stubborn and stick. And we do some more fighting here. I may get a wound through, but he's just peeling me down. And then it's Warriors of the Dark Gods, turn 4, and he charges all of his characters into my big brick here. Yeah, I'm in trouble. There's no other way to look at it. He also charges the remaining Chosen into my remaining Thane, and charges his fast cab into the flank of the ballista because he's getting tired of how long it's taking the dogs to kill it. He runs his fast cab around my Vengeance Seeker to make him even more worthless. And then proceeds to Mistcast of Doom! He throws Break the Spirit back on my Iron, or my Deep Watch, and tossed 4 dice at it. Ended up getting a bad miscast. I think he ended up with like a miscast 16. And ended up killing his wizard, which is particularly unfortunate for my opponent because he was playing the scenario where he had to keep all of his wizard characters alive, so this miscast literally cost him 1,000 points. Yeah, it was not a good moment for him. He was certainly disappointed and dismayed at it. Over here in combat, obviously the ballista isn't going to stay up against both those units and dies. The crushers finally do enough to get me not steadfast anymore, breaks and fails to catch, which may be a first and only for the tournament. Over here, the Chosen just absolutely brutalize my poor Thane girl and run off the table. And there's some thinning down here. I can't hurt either of his characters with what I've got. I take some losses, but I still have characters in there, so we're stubborn and not going anywhere. So Dwarven holds turn 4. I'm afraid that he's going to break my Deep Watch and run them down and hit my general, so I move him out of the way. My remaining few Greybeards and 2 characters reform, and I bring the Vengeance Seeker up. Now, I want to point out a stupid material moment here. Because of what I'm looking at in this unit of Greybeards, they kind of all mix together except for the White Cloak guy. So I think, oh hey, I got 3 Greybeards and 1 Thane left. Not realizing that the guy on the bottom here is a Thane. So I have actually been fighting with him as if he had been a normal Greybeard and losing out on a number of attacks because of that fact, which is just obnoxious. I don't know why there's a second picture here. Maybe I did something crazy, but I don't recall. So, Oh, that must have been the fight. I accomplished nothing. He killed off some dwarves. That's a pretty good summary. Um, then over here, he ends up moving his, uh, or he charges in, I think, with his Chosen of Lust into my general, charges in the Crushers back into that unit, and brings all of his fast cav up to shoot at the Vengeance Seeker. And all of them throw weapons, and none of them can touch the Vengeance Seeker. He may be terrible at accomplishing anything, but he cannot die for anything. Over here, I finally remember that this is a Thane that he does when he does 2 wounds on him. I do 2 wounds back and end up sticking. And his characters finally succeed in breaking and running down the Iron, or the Deep Watch, which causes my character to break too, or maybe they broke him in combat and he ran too. But yeah, it's bad. I'm losing like leadership 9 rerollables all over the place. And that was actually the last turn of the game, because of kind of how slow we were playing it and the time it took to call the TO over and everything. We did not get through turn through the final turn. But needless to say, my opponent absolutely demolished me. And so here's what the battlefield looks like. We end up at the end of 5 turns with the Dwarven holds catching 3905, and the Warriors of the Dark Gods catching 5914. I got beat bad here. That 3905 also factors in the fact that he blew up his own wizard that I had nothing to do with, and the fact that I got my 1,000 points and he didn't. So, had he not blasted that wizard off the face of the planet, it would have been closer to 7,000 to 3,000. So it was an absolute blowout. This guy went on in the tournament. I think he ended up placing 11th overall. So that he did. I helped catapult him up to where he belonged, apparently. But it was a good game. Definitely, I'm not used to these like small unit chaos guys. I'm the chaos player in my in my group, so I don't usually use Chosen. So I really wasn't expecting what they could do, and they were pretty awesome. I also think I made some significant tactical mistakes. This army doesn't do well with me spreading the characters out. Also, the breath weapons are much better used in combat to break things. So I really should have done that instead of what I did. But all in all, it was a fun game. I certainly, for my part, enjoyed it, although there were some tense moments, let's say, just in terms of sort of reactions to things, but it was a pleasant enough game. So this is actually about my average. I'm still hitting my 3,000 points a game, which is super good. It's sort of the benchmark I set for myself, so I was pretty happy with that. And we will move on to another very familiar set of terrain for the next game. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Please like and subscribe if you do already. I also would like to thank my patrons, Peter Vase. I'm going to hope that's pronounced. He sent me a pronunciation key, and I'm probably still screwing it up. But that's what it is. And Sylvanus Ironwood. Thank you guys for being patrons. For those of you who are interested in supporting me on Patreon, I will have the link down in the video below. So feel free to go there and give if you are so inclined. Outside of that, I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.